Hey everybody, Dave Dubeau here with another episode of the Property Profits Real Estate Podcast. Today, zooming in, we're actually filming this on Canada Day. So happy Canada Day, Tyler. Is Tyler Soulliere from Windsor, Ontario, an award-winning real estate entrepreneur. So how are you doing today, Tyler?
Very good. Sun is shining out here in Windsor, Ontario, and can't complain, right? It's nice to finally get some good sunshine. We got the day off, as I was saying earlier when we were talking before we began this podcast. So
That's right. You fousted off your 11th month old baby to the in-laws, so you get a little bit of peace and quiet, and
yes.
probably have a nice big nap after this.
Nap or finally catching up on some. Yeah, I'm running numbers actually, as I was about to almost be late to this call.
All right. So speaking of running numbers, why don't you tell us what is your main focus when it comes to real estate investing these days, Tyler?
I mean, nowadays it's all about buy and holds, but I can get into where I started back in 2013. It was like everyone else. Hey, I jumped on the fix and flip bandwagon to make a quick buck. While I was selling real estate, I figured that would be a good way to supplement my income is, hey, what's a nice big payday if I can flip a home and make 20, 30 grand, right?
Yeah.
But, as I kept, flipping a couple properties here and there, I started looking at the bigger picture, right? Why always depend on a big payday when I could just slowly get out of selling real estate to then have passive income from rental properties?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's kind of the process a lot of people go through, isn't it, Tyler? So
yeah, because fix and flipping is risky, right? And it was kind of the first one, of course. The first one I did very good on back in 2013. $48,000 duplex that I, put 30 grand into it.
Yeah, didn't it?
And made 30. And I said, well, I didn't really have to do much. I had a good contractor who did all the work, and then that kind of just snowballed. But the next one didn't do as well, and then doing renovations, it's very hard to budget, right? So the margins were getting slimmer and slimmer. So I think by the third one, I was like, well, let's just, instead of trying to sell these and make 5-10 grand, I'll just hold them up, right? Let them go up in value. And that's kind of where I started just buying these properties and filling them and renting them out and slowly just building up the equity, or sometimes I would refinance them. So the BHIR method worked very well because here in Windsor,
the BHIR method, yeah, okay.
Yeah, in Windsor it was very hit hard with the recession back in 2008. So we had a lot of bank sales here, lots of properties that needed, that you could still buy on the cheap and that needed the updating, right? So that was kind of maybe, a good time to really get in the real estate game for myself. Was there wasn't much competition. People were still very hesitant to pick these properties up, but I was a little more risky, and I was only 30 years old, so I was kind of thinking I still was selling real estate, so that was a good income, but I was going, hey, I should start buying some more and holding on to these, and I could take a risk, right? Because I did have that other income in the background, my active income.
So are you still a realtor, or are you focused full time on being a real estate investor, entrepreneur? Do you do both? What are you doing these days?
So for 6 years, I was doing both.
Yeah.
And about a year and a half, I just kind of hung up the realtor license. And now just kind of, sitting, enjoying just buying properties here and there. Bought only just a few in the last couple of years.
Uh-huh.
But and just buy and holds, multi-unit properties that I've just looked to just, slowly just continue building up that passive income, right?
Nice. So what does your portfolio look like now, if you don't mind sharing, Tyler?
Mainly just duplexes. Yeah, I've got about 4 or 5 duplexes. I always forget the number. I've got a 6-unit out in the county here in Windsor that I own. I've got a mixed-use residential 5-unit in Windsor. So I think my portfolio is about 7-8 properties, maybe close to 20 doors, I think, right now.
Cool. And that's in that area, that's creating the cash flow that you need to not have to punch a clock. That's
yes. It's kind of been very nice just to kind of live off the cash flow. And, I've been lucky enough to just this year sell off 2 big properties that, I bought, and I've, as the tenants paid down, the mortgage for me, and the properties have gone up in value, I was able to, get a little profit out of those. And then all these properties that I've held, I just refinanced all 5 of them, 5 of those properties myself. So being almost like a long-term BRRR method where I've updated them in the past over the years, and now with the equity I've really built up over those years, I just pulled it out, and now I'm just kind of sitting
free,
around.
right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a long process, right? So I've held those for 6 years, and just watching equity built up, and it was nice to kind of have a nice big Christmas present, almost, you call it, right, where you're finally able to access some of that equity you've worked so hard to get, right? The headaches over the years of dealing with tenants, dealing with vacancies, dealing with non-paying tenants, right? I mean, it's a tough process, and the goal is, you don't want to keep putting money into these properties. You want the tenants, when you're holding properties for rentals, to pay down that mortgage for you, right? And hopefully put a little in your pocket. So it's, in the big grand scheme of things, it's easy, but it's not.
Right. So Tyler, yeah, so you went from working as a realtor, then you started flipping houses, then you realized it's not, even though you did really, really well on your first one, you realize it's not always sunshine and rainbows like it looks like on the TV shows.
No,
HGTV.
It's definitely not, and it's only I find in this market in Windsor, and I hear from a lot of people too. It's very hard to make any sort of good profit like you used to, because there's so many people that are looking to fix and flip properties, and I mean, there's always multiple offers on any property that needs work in this area. So I mean, to find a property you can fix and flip, it's harder these days, right? A lot harder. And that just hurts margins, right? So, and I'm not a handy guy, so I've always been the guy to outsource a lot of this work. So coming into this, that was, something that I couldn't take advantage of, like put my time into renovating these properties. And I'm working, so it's, I'd rather stay at home and relax at night than go to property and do renovations all night, right?
I agree with you 110%. Yeah, I had a similar process, but I wasn't doing flips per se. I was doing rent-to-own deals.
Okay.
But I learned over time, it's basically the same thing. It's a slow motion flip without having to necessarily lift a hammer.
Exactly.
But same challenge, right? So you do all this work, you get this deal up and going, and sure, you make a few bucks with the cash flow, you make a little pop of cash at the end or whatever, maybe, if everything works out right. But you lose all of that benefit as soon as you sell the sucker. Then you have to start all over again, right? So you just created another job for yourself. So
yeah, exactly, and that's very true, right? If you keep flipping properties, it's not really a passive income, right? It's always active.
Not at all.
And that's kind of what,
some people are amazing at it, and all the power to them. But for long-term wealth generation, to be able to do what you're doing right now, it ain't gonna cut it. So
no, it's not. And I preach that to people, and people that like to flip properties continuously. I mean, you're always doing the work to get that big paycheck. It's almost like just
which might not be all that big at the end of the day.
Exactly, yeah. And I think the last one I flipped was 2 summers ago, and I think I walked away with $3,000 in my pocket because the week before I was about to sell it, a pipe burst in the basement, and I had to dig up the whole front yard, and they went $6,000, and it was like, and that was myself doing a lot of the labor. So I think I made $5 an hour. Something like that. I'm done flips. No more. I'm not even going to try to, be aggressive. I went very aggressive on the resale price, and my purchase price then went aggressive because I was in a bidding war. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to be, stick to these long-term holds. Buy them for potential value, I guess I would say. That's kind of where I went for the last property I bought, a 6-unit out in Essex here. It was more or less, the rents weren't great, but I could see 3 to 5 years easily I can increase those rents. And when you're looking at multi-unit properties, cap rates start coming into play, and the value of the property. So if I can increase the income, I can increase the value. And that's kind of my strategy. I called it the BHIR method, the buy, hold, improve, refinance method. And that's kind of what I coined, I don't know, maybe a year ago. It just kind of, that was where I went with my strategy now. So, because I found, renovating any properties, it's expensive. Contractors, trades, labor, materials are all getting more costly. So I look for these kind of almost hidden gems that you would say that I don't need to do any work. They're turnkey when I buy them, but I know I can, add some paint here over the years, and then slowly hold them for a couple of years till tenants move out, new tenants move in, and I almost basically look for undervalued properties, right? So that strategy's been working good for me, and that's, it's a little longer process than flipping or BRRRing, but I'm right now I'm at
The
that stage.
upside's a lot bigger too, though.
I don't have to rush and try to make money now, right? So
Right. So BHIR. So remind me what the letters stand for
right.
again.
Kind of buy, hold, improve, over the years, and then refinance or sell, right? So I call it the BHIR. Yeah. Buy, hold, improve, increase rents. That's kind of what I now focus on. So this property I just bought, it's tenants are still there, even during the pandemic. They've all paid, so I'm not making a ton of cash flow, but the mortgage is being paid down, and eventually tenants will slowly move out, right? I mean,
So you're in a challenging market because Ontario is very, very tenant friendly.
Yes.
Landlord friendly. So the amount you can increase your rent on existing tenants is minuscule. But once you get them out, once they leave, then the new person that comes in, you can put them in at market rent, correct?
Yeah, and I'm buying these for less headaches, so I'm not looking to go cash for keys. I've done that. I'm not illegally trying to kick them out by doing renovations. I mean, these are things you can do. These are things I've done in the past.
Hopefully not the illegal stuff.
No, not the illegal stuff, but the cash for keys, right? But so it's like you said, it's very pro tenant here. So I don't want to mess around with, hey, we're going to do renovations in this unit, and they legally have the right to come back, right? So I don't want to mess around with that. I'm just kind of slow and steady wins the race, and it's done that very well for me, right? So
yeah. So I hear you had a big honor a few years ago, and you were named the Canadian Real Estate Wealth Magazine Investor of the Year. Tell us a little bit about that.
So that was really my first year in the business. Like I said, it snowballed when I bought my first duplex. I just went kind of gangbusters and started buying more and more properties. So the first flip, I ended up taking that profit and buying 2 more properties. And back then when I was beginning, it was like, how do I build up a portfolio big enough to get to where I can step away and have that passive income? So that's kind of where in the beginning, I didn't have that buy long-term hold strategy I do now. It was like most people when you get started, hey, I got to make some money. So it was basically the buy RRR method. So that first year, I think I bought 15 properties.
Wow.
And I think my wife said something came across her, like, hey, you should apply for this award. I'm like, okay, I'll fill out the form. I filled out the form, and then they nominated me, and I went to this, the event in Toronto, and I thought I was going to win the newcomer of the year. And I didn't win that. I was kind of bummed, right? I'm like, oh, there's no way I'm going to win Investor of the Year. And sure enough, my name gets called, and
nice.
Just kind of like shocked, right? Because there's a lot of people that have been investing in real estate, and you're just kind of like, wow, like humbled, like, wow, there's so many good investors out there that have done so many things. And me being just starting, really just learning the ropes as I went, made a lot of mistakes. I was like, man, do I even deserve this award? Like, I don't feel like I made so many mistakes in my first year investing in real estate, just kind of winging it, buying properties.
So to do 15 deals in a year, where did the capital come from for that? Were you working with investor partners, self-financing, recycling your money? How are you capitalizing these deals?
So I worked for about 5 years, just an 8 to 5, just kind of always saving money. And then when I became a realtor, I ended up buying a home, and I put a lot down. And then someone, taught me about home equity lines of credits. I had no idea what that was. So I went to the bank and what's your home worth? I said, I don't know, 300 grand or something. Okay, we can give you a HELOC for 100 grand. I was like, okay, great. So I sat on that for like maybe 6 months before that, and I used that capital to buy my first property, right? Mm-hmm. So that was just a cash property. I couldn't get financing on the $48,000 duplex. So that's kind of really what helped me. I had some savings set aside, and I was able to pull equity out of my personal residence that I was told not to do by almost everybody and my financial advisors. Don't use your HELOC. What happens if you lose money and you can't pay it back, right? but I ran numbers, right? I learned from a mentor how to look and analyze properties, and I said, this isn't rocket science. I mean, it's literally, here's what you buy for, here's what you put into it, here's what you're going to sell it for. When I was first looking, I said, I could do this. So the numbers worked, and that's kind of what helped me pull the trigger. I trusted the numbers, and that's really where I had my capital to basically start buying these properties. But as you said, as you're buying more and more properties, I needed to pull equity out because I wanted to start holding some for rental. So that's where I started. Someone came to me and said, hey, why don't you refinance these? And I didn't even know what that was in the beginning either. I was like, what does that mean? Well, you refinance at a higher value, and then you can kind of pay off the existing mortgage when the difference is what you get back. And I was like, oh, okay, that's almost like flipping. Mm-hmm. So that's I would like you said, basically recycle the funds that I had, pulling out equity or selling properties. And at one point, I had like 5 properties on the go, and I'm just, like I said, when I won that award, I had so many mistakes. I was using credit cards to pay contractors. I was just, I got some points. I was very leveraged. Let's put it that way. It was a very, very stressful time that first year. So winning that award was really nice. Like, it was like, wow, all this hard work, it was nice to be honored for it, right? Because it was not easy.
So Tyler, time flies when we're having fun. If people want to find out more about you and what you're up to, what should they do?
I had my website at TySoullInvestor.com. That it's just kind of a standard website. I've worked with partners in the past. That was one thing I did. I did take some partners on when in that first year to buy two mixed-use properties, right? Because you need more capital when you're buying more expensive properties. So that was one way I leveraged that. And I'm always looking for more partners as well to continue buying more properties. That's one good way to reach out to me. And I just like talking real estate. So really, I still get people just giving me a shout, and I like to just help them get started. I had a guy call me last week, like, how do I get started? And just chat for half an hour and try best I can to help other people get to where I am, right? Because they see that, and he's like, man, how do I get out of my everyday job? Like, how did you do it? So that's something I just like to really share with people. So that's one good way to reach out to me right there, is that website, and they can find out more and contact me. Sounds like
you might have a book in there.
Possibly. Yeah. There is a draft book that I actually did start a couple years ago, but I never finished it. It's just a rough draft now.
Maybe it's time to dust it off. Awesome, yeah. Tyler. Thank you very much.
No, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody, take care, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye. Well, hey there. Thanks for tuning into the Property Profits podcast. If you like this episode, that's great. Please go ahead and subscribe on iTunes. Give us a good review. That'd be awesome. I appreciate that. And if you're looking to attract investors and raise capital for your deals, then I'm going to invite you to get a complimentary copy of my newest book. Right back there. There it is. The Money Partner Formula. You can get a PDF version at investorattractionbook.com. Again, investorattractionbook.com. Take care.